Stone walls cannot keep out love, Romeo said. If their hatred ends my life, said Romeo, then I will die. I do not care. I do not want to live without your love. Do you love me? I know that you will say yes. But tell me the truth. Lady, I promise by the moon that touches the tops of those fruit trees with silver. Oh, don't promise by the moon, Juliet said. The moon changes every month. I do not want your love to change like the moon. What shall I promise by? Romeo asked. Do not promise, you make me happy, but this love has come very suddenly. I must go now. No, wait, Romeo cried. At that moment the nurse called. I can hear a noise, said Juliet. Sweet Romeo, stay here for a moment. I will come back. She went inside, but soon she returned. Dear Romeo, she said, if you truly love me and wish to marry me, send a message tomorrow. I will send someone to collect your message. Tell me where and at what time you will marry me, and my life will be yours. I will follow you, my lord, across the world. The nurse called again. Juliet went in and then came out again. Romeo. My sweet, at what time tomorrow shall I send someone to you, she asked. At 9 o'clock, Romeo replied. My messenger will find you. It is almost morning, so I must let you go. Good night. Good night. I am sad to leave you, but it is a sweet sadness. I will not stop saying good night until tomorrow. She went back into her room. Let sleep rest on your eyes, said Romeo, and peace in your heart. I wish that I could rest in such a sweet place. He turned away. I must go to Friar Lawrence and tell him about Juliet, he said to himself. He will help me. Friar Lawrence was a man of God. Romeo and Juliet both knew him. Early the next morning, he was picking plants outside his cell. He knew a lot about plants. He used them to make sick people better, or to help tired or ill people sleep. When he saw Romeo running towards him, Friar Lawrence was very surprised. Why are you here so early? Asked the friar. Young men sleep late in the morning. Can't you sleep? Were you thinking of Rosalind? No, I could not sleep, but I was not thinking about Rosalind. I have forgotten her name and all the unhappiness that went with it. I must tell you what happened. Last night I went to a feast at my enemy's house. There I fell in love with the beautiful daughter of Lord Capulet, and she loves me. We want you to marry us today. Oh, what a change, cried Friar Lawrence. Yesterday you loved Rosalind. Now you tell me that you love someone else. I do not like it. It is too sudden. Don't be angry with me. Juliet loves me, and Rosalind does not. Please marry us today. Rosalind knew that you were not really in love, said the wise friar. So I will marry you. This marriage may turn the hatred between your two families into love. Mercutio and Benvolio were searching for Romeo. Mercutio was a member of Prince Aeschylus's family and one of Romeo's friends. Romeo was not at his father's house last night, Benvolio said. Tybalt is looking for him. He is angry because Romeo went to the Capulet's feast, and he wants to fight him. Then Romeo arrived. He looked very happy. What has happened to you? Mercutio asked him. Before Romeo could answer, the nurse and her servant arrived. Go to my father's house, Romeo said to Benvolio and Mercutio. I will follow you soon. He waited until they had gone. Then he spoke to the nurse. Tell Juliet, said Romeo, to go to Friar Lawrence this afternoon. He will marry us in his cell. My man, Balthazar, will meet you in 1 hour behind the church. He will bring you a ladder. Tonight I will climb up to Juliet's room. Will Balthazar keep your secret? Yes, Romeo replied. He is a good servant. Paris wants to marry my lady Juliet, but I know that you will make her happy, the nurse said. Goodbye, Romeo said. Give my dearest love to Juliet. I will 1,000 times, she promised. Juliet was waiting for the nurse to return. Oh, here she comes. Dearest nurse, are you bringing me news? Have you met him? What does he say about our marriage? Can you visit Friar Lawrence today? Asked the nurse. Yes, Juliet said. Then go to his cell. Romeo is waiting there to make you his wife. Ah, that has brought the blood to your face. Now I must go and fetch a ladder. Your Romeo will climb up into your room tonight. Dear good nurse, Juliet said. That same afternoon, the friar married Romeo and Juliet. Heaven smiles upon this wedding, Friar Lawrence said to them. I hope that there will not be trouble later. I do not care, Romeo cried. Great and sudden love can bring great sadness, the friar replied. A little later on the same day, Benvolio and Mercutio were talking together. Mercutio, said Benvolio, let us go away. The Capulets are somewhere in these streets, and I do not want to meet them. They will want to fight. He was right. Suddenly, Tybalt and his friends came into the street. Tybalt and Mercutio started to quarrel. Then Romeo came along the street, and Tybalt began to shout at him. You are my enemy, Tybalt cried. Pull out your sword. I do not want to be your enemy, Romeo replied. I love the Capulet name as much as I love my own name. But Tybalt wanted to fight. Pull out your sword, he shouted again to Romeo. I will not quarrel with you, Romeo said. Mercutio was surprised. He did not want Romeo to be friendly with Tybalt. I will fight you instead, he shouted to Tybalt, and a fight began. Stop, gentlemen, Romeo cried. The prince told us not to fight in these streets. He tried to stand between them, but Tybalt's sword went under Romeo's arm and wounded Mercutio. Tybalt ran away. I am wounded, cried Mercutio. A curse on both your families. Fetch a doctor. Be brave, man, said Romeo. I hope it is not a bad wound. It is not very deep, but it is bad enough. Look for me tomorrow, and you will have to find my tomb. Why did you stand between us? Tybalt's sword passed under your arm. Help me into a house, Benvolio. I will fight you instead, he shouted at Tybalt. Soon afterwards, Benvolio returned. Oh, Romeo, he said, brave Mercutio is dead. Everything seemed black for Romeo. His dear friend was dead, and Tybalt hated him more than ever. The prince would punish them for quarreling in the streets of Verona and for Mercutio's death. Then Tybalt came back. Tybalt is alive, and my friend Mercutio is dead, cried Romeo. Now I do not care what I do. One of us will die with Mercutio. There was a terrible fight between Romeo and Tybalt fell dead. Escape, Romeo, cried Benvolio. People are coming. The prince will be angry, and he will punish you with death. As the unhappy Romeo ran away, the prince, the Montagues, and the Capulets arrived. Fine, everyone will love the night. Ah, here comes my nurse. Have you brought the ladder? The nurse came in carrying a ladder. Why are you weeping? Juliet asked. Tybalt is dead, she said. Romeo killed him. And Juliet cried. Don't say such a terrible thing. It is true. I saw the wound on Tybalt's body. Romeo killed him, and now he must leave the city. Oh, Tybalt. Tybalt was an honest gentleman. Tybalt wanted to kill my husband. Now my husband is alive, and Tybalt is dead. But Romeo must leave Verona. These words mean death to me. I cannot live without him. Go to your room, said the nurse. I will find Romeo for you. I know where he is. He is in Friar Lawrence's cell. Oh, find him. Give him this ring. Tell him to come and say his last goodbye to me. Who started this quarrel? Asked the prince. Lady Capulet stood weeping over the body of the dead Tybalt as Benvolio tried to explain. Romeo tried to stop the fight between Tybalt and Mercutio, but he could not. Tybalt killed Mercutio, then Romeo killed Tybalt. Lady Capulet did not believe him. Benvolio belongs to the Montague family. He is lying. Romeo killed Tybalt, and he must not live. I will have to punish Romeo for Tybalt's death, said the prince. He must leave the city and never return. If I find Romeo in Verona, he will die. Juliet was waiting for the night. Come, Genda night, she said. Bring me my Romeo and let me hold him in my arms. And when he dies, take him and cut him into little stars. He will make the face of heaven look very fine. Everyone will love the night. Ah, here comes my nurse. Have you brought the ladder? The nurse came in carrying a ladder. Why are you weeping? Juliet asked. Tybalt is dead, she said. Romeo killed him. Juliet cried. Don't say such a terrible thing. It is true. I saw the wound on Tybalt's body. Romeo killed him, and now he must leave the city. Oh, Tybalt! Tybalt was an honest gentleman. Tybalt wanted to kill my husband. Now my husband is alive, and Tybalt is dead. But Romeo must leave Verona. These words mean death to me. I cannot live without him. Go to your room, said the nurse. I will find Romeo for you. I know where he is. He is in Friar Lawrence's cell. Oh, find him. Give him this ring. Tell him to come and say his last goodbye to me. At the same time, Friar Lawrence was trying to help Romeo. The Capulets want the prince to kill you, the friar said, but he has only ordered you to leave Verona. Never. Let me die instead, Romeo cried. Stay calm. The world is great and wide. There is no world for me except Verona. Juliet is here. Let me die if I cannot stay with her. Give me poison or a sharp knife. Let me die. Don't say that. You are talking like a madman, the friar said. The nurse arrived. I have come from Lady Juliet, she said. Where is Romeo? He is here, the friar replied. His tears are making him crazy. Juliet is the same. She just weeps and weeps. Tell me, said Romeo, does she think I am a murderer? Does she still love me? Does not say anything. She calls out your name and then Tybalt's name, the nurse said. Romeo was very unhappy. He tried to drive his sharp dagger into his heart, but the friar stopped him. Stop! Are you a man? Friar Lawrence asked. You cry like a woman. You behave wildly like an animal. I thought you were strong. If you kill yourself, you will kill your lady. She lives for you. Be strong, man. Go to Juliet and help her. Then early tomorrow morning, you must leave Verona and go to Mantua. Stay there until the prince forgives you. Nurse, go to your lady. Tell her that Romeo is coming to her. Yes, said Romeo. Here, sir, the nurse said. Juliet wants you to have this ring. Go now, the friar said to Romeo. Leave for Mantua tomorrow. I will send your servant there with messages for you. That night, Romeo climbed up the ladder into Juliet's room. It was a strange night for the new husband and wife. They were wonderfully happy, but very frightened. At the first light of day, Romeo had to leave. Must you go now? Said Juliet. It is still night. Look, love, said Romeo. The light is shining through the clouds in the east, and the stars are pale now. Daylight is waiting on the mountaintops. I must go now and live or stay and die. Juliet was frightened. Go now, she said. Quickly, go. The nurse came into the room. Your mother is coming, she said. Goodbye, my love, Romeo said. Give me one kiss and I will go. I am afraid, Juliet said to her nurse as he left. I dreamed I saw Romeo at the bottom of a tomb. Oh, please, let him come back to me. Lady Capulet entered Juliet's room. She and her husband had decided that they wanted Juliet to marry Paris. Daughter, why are you still in bed? She asked. I am not well, Juliet replied. You are still weeping because of Tybalt's death, her mother said. It is wrong that his murderer is still alive. I will tell a friend in Mantua about Tybalt's death, and he will kill Romeo. Juliet did not want her mother to know about her marriage to Romeo, so she said, I will never be happy until I see Romeo again, and he is punished for the death of my cousin. My child, Lady Capulet said, let us think of happier things. Early on Thursday morning, Count Paris will marry you at St. Peter's Church. He will not, cried Juliet. Tell my father it's too soon. I will not marry yet. Here comes your father. Tell him yourself. Must you go now? Said Juliet. It is still night. Lord Capulet came into the room. What is wrong? He said. Are you still weeping? Has your mother told you about your wedding to Paris? Yes, sir, said Lady Capulet. I told her, but she will not obey. I do not understand. She should thank us. We have found her a fine husband. I cannot thank you for something that I will hate, said Juliet. Lord Capulet was very angry. On Thursday, you will go with Paris to St. Peter's Church, or I will take you there by force. Please, father, Juliet cried. Go to the church on Thursday, or I will never speak to you again. You will not come into my house. You can beg and die in the streets. He left the room. Is there no pity? Said Juliet. Oh, my sweet mother, I beg you to delay this marriage for a month, a week. If you do not, I will die like Tybalt.